Pokemon Infinite Fusion is a fan game in which you are able to fuse any two Pokemon together. There are currently over 176,000 Pokemon in the game, which is insane. Some of them look amazing, while others are just straight up weird, and in this video, I decided to make fusions using only Ghost-type Pokemon since it leads to the best combinations. Just like any other Pokemon game, it all starts at Professor Oak's lab. Thanks to the randomizer option, I was able to get Ghastly as a starter, which is perfect since it was the first ever Ghost type. Our rival fused the other two starters together, which was a Hoot and Anorith, to create this monstrosity. My guy cheated and still ended up losing the battle. Anyways, I caught an Aron on Route 1, and in the mart in Viridian, this delivery guy gave me a Luxio for no reason at all, which I will take any day of the week. I could then buy DNA splicers, which is the item used to fuse Pokemon. Combining Aron and Ghastly together created Gasron by combining their best elements to give such a cool fusion. Near Pewter City, I found a Yamask, which is another Ghost-type Pokemon, and combining it with Luxio gave Yaxio, which is still sticking to that Egyptian theme. Even though I randomized all the trainers, gym leaders still keep their original typing, so when I challenged Brock, I still knew I was up against his Rock-type Pokemon, and it was a weird coincidence that he had two Aron fusions as well. Before Mount Moon, I found a Charmander and a Litwick, which was another Ghost-type. So I combined Ghastly and Charmander into Gasmander, which was okay, but Charmander and Litwick made a way better fusion in my opinion. While I was busy catching Pokemon, Brock was busy catching up to Nurse Joy's standards. Inside Mount Moon, I found Shuppet as well as Nincada, and I know Nincada is a bug ground type, but it can evolve into Shedinja, which is a ghost type. Litmander started to evolve into Litmeleon, which shows some great potential for when it fully evolves. I beat Team Rocket and their schemes of what looks like fusing 3 Pokemon together. I don't know if that's a thing, but that would be absolutely nuts. Ghost-type Pokemon are pretty rare, and there are only 14 different species in this game, so I got a few more backups, which will come in hand until I find new ones. Using Piplup and Ghastly was so cool because it got this Emperor kind of vibe with its crest and cape. Butterfree and Litwick was what Butterfree would look like if it was thrown into a microwave. I wanted a Grass-type Pokemon for the water gym, so I also got Bellely here, which is looking pretty funny. By the way, let me know down in the comments what your favorite fusion was in this video, and make sure to watch till the end because you definitely don't want to miss out on the best fusions. Heading into the battle with Misty, our Yaxio dealt with her weird Squirtle Lediboff fusion, and even though our Grassy Sprout is pretty derpy, it still got the job done. Some of my Pokemon like Gasplup and Gasaron evolved, and unfortunately they just lost their coolness factor. Well, you on the other hand didn't have any to begin with. We then went over to Bill's house, and it just so happens that he fused himself with the Rhydon, and after unfusing him, you're probably wondering what happened to the Rhydon. Well, don't worry about it. On our way to the third gym, I caught a Lampent, Duskull, and Honedge, all of them being able to create some amazing designs. The unfortunate thing with Honedge is that in order to keep it a ghost type, most of its fusions end up as swords. This one honestly just looks like a frickin' I actually don't know if I can show that on screen or not. Trapinch and Honedge combined into a sledgehammer using Trapinch's jaws, which is pretty clever, and Larvitar and Lampent fused into Lamtar, basically making it a torch. Considering the state of my Gastron, I switched it up using a Duskull, which only gets better from here. Solosis and Duskull combined to create this Cube of Death jelly, which I thought was really cool. And finally, Clink and Honedge fused into this scrappy weapon, which is looking pretty nutty. What kind of captain wants a back rub from a 10-year-old? Anyways, now that I can cut down trees, Lieutenant Surge was my next opponent. But first, I had to spend a good half hour looking for my dignity in the garbage. The gym battle, on the other hand, was a complete joke. My Trapinch just ran through his side with Bulldoze to give us an easy dub. Even though I fused Shedinja with some pretty powerful Pokemon, it has some pretty average looking fusions, which is kinda sad. But to be fair, you can't do much with its body. I then made my way to Celadon City, where you normally find Team Rocket's hideout in the casino, but instead they moved it to the grubby sewers. We teamed up with Erica to take them on, and in that time, Duron evolved into... Duron? My Jelly Boy evolved and messed up that great fusion, but I could reverse it to its alternate form and get the even cooler Fusion. My Luxray and Copagrigus combined to perfectly fit that ancient sphinx of the Egyptian region, and to top it off, my Litmelion turned into Litizard, which has such a cool color scheme. Unfortunately, Trapinch got stuck with the short end of the stick, but it happens. Confronted by Giovanni, it was now time for my team to step up to the plate. He had some really cool fusions of Bisharp and Aegislash, but he still didn't stand a chance. And with that, we got the Silph. Some notes on his table mentioned something about triple fusion, which would be insane as a boss fight. This has to be the least threatening Kyogre fusion of all time. Fusion suddenly took a dark turn and ended up getting trapped in this Hellspawn looking DNA cell, which was pretty awesome. The Grass Gym was next in line, and let's just say that Erica got demolished by my new sets of evolutions. It was then time to go back to the drawing board. Cofagrigus puts Raticate in its place. It's like Dead on the Mousetrap, which is so creative. From cute to deadly, Poffatwig ain't playing around, that's for sure. Duskull and Gyarados form Dudos, which is pretty state of the art as far as Duskull fusions go. I played for quite a while off screen just leveling up and catching new Pokemon, and these are all the new finds that I ended up with. And hopefully I get all the different evolutions to get some cute fusions, which is lacking with the Ghost type. As I made my way through Silph, looking for Giovanni, I got a lot more cool combinations. Evolving Fusion made it so that it broke through the glass casing, and it's super awesome that the evolution line tells its own story. Dusclops and Gyarados was quite creepy considering Dusclops' eye is now in Gyarados' mouth, almost looking like an empty shell of itself. One of the very few things I could fuse Doublade with was Donphan, converting those sharp tusks into blades. I was just messing around, and this had to be one of the more derpy looking fusions. Lopunny and Gengar's fusion did not disappoint. That is one mean girl that you don't want to mess with. Litizard evolved into Lampizard, taking a more darker shade, while Larvitar into Pupitar was super funny because it's literally just a lamp now. The Turtwig and Cofagrigus combo slowly became better and better as it finally took on the look of the Egyptian pyramids. Its alternate form happens to be a coffin with elemental hands, sure I guess. Duron evolved into Dugron, which looks fantastic, but then I decided to fuse it with some other ghost types as well to see if I could top it. Yamask and Banette's fusion looks so innocent, and then all of a sudden it turns into this monstrous demon. But one of my favorite fusions so far has to be that of Zoroark and Banette. It keeps most of its attributes but just has more of a bright ninja kind of vibe. Just as I was about to walk up to Giovanni, Mr. Smell You Later here thinks it's a good time to battle. Maybe if you used the last two of your brain cells, you wouldn't have taken the piss now, would you? The best part about Bandroark is that I can still have fun with its illusion ability and catch others off guard. After defeating the big bad, it seems as though Team Rocket have stolen a bunch of Master Balls under production here, but luckily there was still one left, so I took it. I decided to do one new fusion before entering the Saffron Gym. Gengar and Magnezone combined to form perfection. With the Ghastlies in place of Magnemites, it looks so sick, and this is the creativity I love about fusions. As for the Psychic Gym, Sabrina had some pretty decent looking fusions, but my Bandroark and Agar took charge to obtain our 5th gym badge. I then headed back to Mr. Fuji at Lavender Tower to get the Pokeflute. It was time to start fusing more Pokemon together. Parasect and Banette formed a perfect match. The parasitic creature shredding through Banette's cloth is awesome, but it's not just the one form that does it justice. The alternate form is just as good considering these are two Pokemon that people barely even care about. Rotom fused with Ariados turns into an electric spiderweb with a really cool design, while pairing it with Leafeon just turned it into a lawnmower. Drifbloom and Slacking make for the grumpiest kidnapper you will ever see, and fusing it with the Wailord turns it into a blimp. Who would have guessed? Our Dusclops Reuniclus fusion reached its final stage when Dusknoir takes over Reuniclus' body. Torterra and Dusknoir fuse together, ends up replacing the tree with a Trevenant on its back, which makes a lot of sense. Lucario combined with it turns into a Reaper of sorts with sickles as weapons, while Lopunny was just a straight up joke to me. Like, what the fuck? Finally, Lantern, a weird choice, somehow turned into this evil spawn from the Bermuda Triangle. My next stop was Fuchsia City, which has one of the best places to catch fusion Pokemon, the Safari Zone. Getting 30 balls for the cheap price of 500, there were plenty of new Pokemon for me to catch, especially once I found myself in the labyrinth of the Safari where I found Golett, another new Ghost-type Pokemon. Fancy meeting you in here. I could now focus on the new Ghost I obtained being Golurk, and this led to some pretty cool Titan fusions. Using it with Diglett pretty much made it into one of Team Rocket's machines from the anime. The Torterra fusion looks like when you walk up to an ancient Titan in a forest. SilverLuck, the Snorlax Titan, is looking real funky, and I like that you can see the food in its belly. Pairing it up with Roserade gave it your typical Titan who was ready for battle. I just love the entire aesthetic of Lukalurk, its eyes actually being under the head and its getting up stance, which is dope. I did not expect this after fusing with Lopunny. It looks like it's taking control of the armor and its design seems inspired from its Mega Evolution. When I reached Cinnabar Island, I had to make my way through the Pokemon Mansion to find Blaine to make him go back to his gym. Using Snorlax and Cofagrigus made it into a money-thieving scumbag, while Reuniclus in the coffin created a little mummy on the inside, which I thought was pretty cute. One of the better ones for me though was Cofagrigus taking over Gyarados' whole body, which looks really menacing. Banette in Porygon Z was just more nightmare fuel. It is such a psychotic looking monster. Klefki thankfully turned things around with a pretty cute form, but the best Pokemon fusion by far has to be the one of Banette and Scizor. Like, look at that thing. Tell me that's not one of the coolest designs you've ever seen. I mean, for that design, I'd peg you all day if I could, King Peggy. The battle with Blaine would have been tough, but just before that, I was able to get myself a water type with Coffados and sweep through the fire gym with a couple of dragon dances. On the pier, we learned that Team Rocket has stolen a ship and set sail for Mount Ember, where they plan to catch Moltres. We couldn't let that happen as that would mean that they would be able to fuse the legendary trio together. By the time I got there, it was already too late. Giovanni had his hands on all three legendary birds and started to fuse them, and just as we got through his grunts, the fusion was ready. This battle was gonna be intense, because not only did I have to face a fusion of the legendary trio, but also try to beat them individually. Now this is a boss fight I can get behind. My Banroar Plead wasn't able to do too much damage to the Zapdos, but that allowed me to throw in Gen Zone, which had the move Discharge. Being able to hit all three of them super effectively at once made this battle pretty easy, and Gen Zone happened to be the perfect counter to Giovanni's plan. After making him feel like a failure, I then headed back to Viridian City to rub it in his face. But before that, I had the chance to catch myself the legendary trio. So I went to each of their individual homes, from the Seafoam Island to the Power Plant, and caught all of them. It was now time for some more amazing fusions, so starting off with Gengar, pairing it up with Wailord makes it absolutely terrifying. That is the essence of nightmare fuel right there. Metagross turns into Metagar with a pretty simple yet very clean looking fusion. Using it with Klinklang makes it Krusty the Clown apparently, but reversing that fusion to its alternate form gives... I don't even know what that is, but look! I found my first shiny Pokemon! Genrona the Volcarona fusion has a bit of a paradox vibe going about it, while pairing it up with Sylveon gives birth to this demon dog ready to pounce at any moment. Diglett and out of the box Pokemon surprisingly gives one of the better looking Gengar fusions, kinda looking like Mega Sableye. Shifting from Gengar, one of the best Charizard forms has to be that of Chandelure. The purple flames go perfectly with the dark theme, and again has that Mega Charizard Y aesthetic. Aegislash and Lucario was a weird one. I'm not exactly sure what the backstory behind this was, but hey, it still looks cool. I did all those fusions just to battle the Viridian Gym with my single Coffados sweeping through the ground gym. I had now obtained all 8 gym badges, so I could make my way through Victory Road and... wait a second. What are you doing here? Well, unfortunately I killed it, so there goes that possibility. Before entering the Elite Four, I wanted to make the best Ghost fusions known to man, so I caught all the remaining Ghost-type Pokemon being Mimikyu, Mismagius, and Spiritomb. Starting off with Spiritomb, combining it with Ferrothorn gave birth to Ferrotomb, which has a very cool shadow effect. Then I tried fusing it with Pyukumuku, which makes use of its features really well. Fusing it with Teddy Ursa formed Teddy Tomb, which is somehow both cute and creepy. Meanwhile, Miltank was sadly turned into a bottle of milk, which is pretty funny. Miss Magius with Spiritomb formed a unique design, with it being summoned from a book. And a combination with Dusknoir led to a simple design, but what I didn't understand was its alternate form being Spirinoir, which somehow turned into this demoness bull. The design is awesome, but this looks like a fusion of 5 different Pokemon. The best of the lot for me though was fusing it with Darkrai, which has this whole blood summoning ritual going on and the colors fit it perfectly. Now let's move on to Mimikyu. Fusing it with Porygon 2 turned it into a derpy little monster who's out to get my money apparently. Mimion the Vaporeon fusion was being controlled by its skillful puppetry. Aggron on the other hand got the short end of the stick and was turned into an action figure. Lopunny surprisingly turned into a seriously awesome looking ghost type fusion, although Gardevoir just ended up getting stabbed in the back with a hatchet. Mimile the Gallade fusion looked sick with that axe turning into a shadow scythe, while Solosis weirdly changed into a dish of jelly, and I like how you can still see the ghost underneath. I wanted to see what Pikachu would turn into, but it seems like Mimikyu was pretty happy just being its costume, which is adorable. Mimikyu, being the fake Pokemon, decided to turn Darkrai the legendary into a scarecrow. My guy did not deserve this treatment. However, Haxorus changed into this fabric dragon with blades and a scissor, which was really cool, while Bisharp got shafted when it converted it into a chess piece. Moving on to Miss Magius. Using it with Flareon changed it into this witch, and it somehow looks better than Delphox, which has the same lore. Gardevoir just formed a very clean looking fusion, which was a nice change of pace, and somehow, fusing it with Klinklang turned it into a crystal ball. Although Empoleon came out with the best fusion, taking the best parts of both Pokemon. I kind of forgot that I caught the legendary birds, so now it's time for me to put them in the spotlight. Zapdos combined with Mimikyu is what Wingull would look like if it were hit by a thunder. Cofagrigus is always a safe bet when it comes to designs, but Moltres by far looked like the best of the trio. But Chandelure paired up with Articuno was the icing on the cake. It looks so majestic, I just had to have it on my team. Aegislash turned into a pretty weird looking sword, while Rotom just turned it into a fridge. The absolute disrespect, dude. Oh my god. Anyways, Duskull combined with a trio also looked fabulous, and this is what I meant when I said that Duskull really is the best Pokemon to fuse anything with. I had a Darkrai, so why not try some more fusions, right? Dusknoir straight up turned it into this Grim Reaper. And it's pretty much fair to say that if I had to choose another Pokemon to battle Duskull as the best of the best, it would have to be Darkrai, as it gives some of the coolest fusions out there. With all the fusions finally being done, my god, did that take a lot out of me. Let's have a look at my final team for the Elite Four. We have Banzor, Shandazard, Coffados, Genzone, Darktomb, and Shandakuno. As we enter the Elite Four, our first challenger is a Lorelei and her ice types. Her first Pokemon itself was a Clefable Articuno fusion, but my Shandazard obliterated with a single Fire Blast. Her fourth Pokemon ends up being an Articuno Rotom fusion, and Banzor with the Swords Dance was able to break through even after obsessive use of potions. And then she throws out another Clefkuno. Really? Like one of them wasn't enough? I took it out, and with that we were one trainer down. The second challenger was Bruno and his fighting types. My Darktomb lead was pretty strong, and having taught it Psychic made things even tougher for his Pokemon. Shandakuno then came in to sweep up the remaining of his Pokemon, including a cool looking Marowak Gallade fusion to get us the win. You guys might be thinking that Blue is my rival, but no, my real rival is right here. Agatha and her Ghost-type Pokemon was the one I wanted to beat. Having been an expert on Ghost-type Pokemon myself, I knew every single one of her Pokemon's strengths and weaknesses. My Banzor swept with Swords Dances and Shadow Sneaks to crown myself the best Ghost-type user in all the land. But now comes the true test of skill, Lance and his Dragon types. Actually, never mind. This man thought it would be a good idea to have not one, but two fusions of Dragonite and Magikarp. That had to be one of the least threatening battles in my entire Pokemon journey. Finally, we made it to the Champion Hall. where I smelled a scent of disgust. That's right, our rival Blue Cheese was waiting to beat the crap out of me, but little did he know what I came packing with. He led with the Rio toys, which was a pretty bad choice for him early on. It did get up a rain dance though, making my Charizard less effective. Gen Zone was up against his starter when he pulled it out of battle for me to defeat one of the Pokemon that I cared so much about on my journey. Eventually, he switched again to his Credilli Aegislash fusion, which my very own Banzor was able to hit super effectively with a Phantom Force. That now left 3 Pokemon remaining. Even though my Charizard was weakened thanks to being owned by such a dumb trainer, it got the kill on Armor Owl. That brought in Amphagar, and it was finally time for my Dark Tomb to shine. A single Dark Pulse defeated the happy-looking monster, but that meant he was down to his last Pokemon. Wait a second, Deoslash? Are you really telling me that out of the 6 Pokemon, he used 4 Ghost types? Come on man, that's my thing. Darkrai somehow outsped the Speed Demon Deoxys and took it out of commission. With that, I'd beaten the Elite Four and taken my place as the champion of the region. Having had the best fusion Pokemon as a Ghost user, it was bound to happen. That brings an end to my run of Pokemon Infinite Fusion. If you want to see me play through this game again, let me know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. With that being said, I'll see you all next time.